Hello, everybody on the interwebs, and hello, crowd here today. This is a good crowd. I'm Lee Blickley from HuffPost, and I am about to be joined by a very special guest who's making his way all the way from the Bachelor mansion. We have Arie Luyendyk Jr. is here, everybody. The Bachelor. He was on Emily Maynard's season 6 years ago, and he left heartbroken as a runner-up, but now he's been given the chance to come back as the Bachelor, and we've been watching his journey to find love over the past few weeks. So I know you guys definitely have questions. If you're on watching right now, you could use the button right here to submit a question, but for right now, we're gonna roll into this awesome interview by watching a cool clip.
Sorry, I'm like really nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know.
We're gonna have a great day.
Oh my freaking God. They're going on like a little gondola.
Bonjour.
Oh, that's so cute. Can we go down there and look? Oh. I don't like what I see. I don't like it. What the
I think that honestly Arie wants to be challenged, but you can take the easy way out and have like a Lauren B or someone like super soft and not speaking their voice. But like, is he really looking for like a strong woman? Like a woman, not like a young little girl. Either way, I hope she doesn't get a rose because that's the name of the game. Sorry, it is.
Everybody, let's welcome Arie to the stage. Arie, you're looking for women.
It's awesome.
First, I have to give you a high five. You got rid of Crystal last night.
Oh gosh, no, I don't want a high five to that. Now I feel bad. Oh no, it was a good episode. Paris was such a great city to shoot in. It was really cool. We had 4 dates. It was a really full week, and that 2-on-1 was a lot of pressure.
But I have to say, the women have been really interesting this season, and Crystal really got in there and kind of messed with the vibe of the house. Did you kind of sense that coming from Crystal, or was your relationship with her very separate from that?
Yeah, so when I watch it back, it's really interesting because I see this whole other side to the whole show. You know, I see the conversations that she had with the other women. I see her interviews, and it does change my perception a little bit. But in the moment, we had a really great date, that first date, and then, you know, we did have really good conversation, and she met my family, and I feel like we talked a lot about our family lives, and, you know, she had a tough upbringing. So I did really connect with her in the beginning of the show. So yeah, now looking back, it's like, ugh.
Are there a lot of those?
Should have saw it a little bit sooner, but.
Yeah, there are a lot of those moments where, of course, you're filming and you're experiencing it one way, and then you have to go and watch the show, and you see things kind of pan out in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the case. You know, I think, I'm shielded from all the drama. And then when I talk to the women, they'll be like, oh, no, everything's great back at the house. We all love each other. And then you watch the show back and you're like, what in the heck is going on? But that's a whole different side of things. And now it's fun to experience that and watch it.
So how's it been for you? So 6 years ago, you were on Emily's season, which was one of my favorite seasons. And a lot of people fell in love with you and really wanted you to be the Bachelor. And we had to wait 6 long years, and now you're finally in the hot seat. How did that feel? Can you kind of talk about that journey to become the Bachelor?
Yeah, so I was close a couple seasons, and we'd always talked, and sometimes the timing wasn't right for them, sometimes it wasn't right for me, sometimes I was dating somebody. And this time, everything worked out, and it was a great sort of coincidence, and, you know, I was single, and so, you know, the last time I was really in love and really ready to get married was on the show, and so for me, it was a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, and what was it like, that feeling at the Bachelor Mansion before all the women came out of the limo? What did you feel
Terrifying.
that night?
I was terrified. No, for me, it had been so long, and now as the Bachelor, you see so much of the production and this huge, and everyone's coming up to you, wishing you luck, and for me, it was very nerve-wracking. I think that first night, I was, it was intimidating, and I think some people expected a different Bachelor, so I felt a little insecure in that way. But then as that evening rolled through, you know, I got more and more comfortable. And, obviously now at this point of the show, halfway through, we're in Paris, and I was really feeling good, having a lot of fun with the remaining women. And so now it's fun to watch back on this point of the season.
You mentioned some people think Peter was going to be the next Bachelor or something.
I mean, every season, everyone has their favorites. When I was dumped by Emily, a lot of people thought, okay, maybe he'll be the next Bachelor, and then Sean was, and Sean was an awesome Bachelor, and still a really good friend of mine, and so for me, I had to navigate through that a little bit, but still an awesome experience. I'm really glad I did it.
You mentioned Sean. I know you got the chance to sit down with him, but what kind of pointers did he give you to prepare for being the Bachelor? Because like you said, it's very different than just being a contestant on the show.
Yeah, he didn't give me much. I wish he gave me more.
Shower scenes?
Yeah. No, we didn't do any of those, actually. Sean, he lent some really good advice. Catherine lent some really good advice about being very present in every conversation. I think that was important. And now post-show, leaning on him a little bit, I think that's probably the most difficult part, is to navigate this whole post-show scenario where you can't really say what happened in the end. And so it's been really difficult. So I'm just counting down the days till March 5th, the finale, when I can finally sort of let the cat out of the bag and say what happened.
Yeah, talk about this post-show, waiting. I think it's been probably 3 months by the time you can reveal it, right? Since you've maybe been engaged,
Right.
maybe not. I hope you're happy. I'm trying to read your face.
I'm very happy.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very happy. And it was difficult because I did fall in love with two women. I think for me, I thought I'd be more closed off, and I thought it'd be very difficult for me, just because that doesn't happen very often in my life where I fall head over heels and I'm in love. And it's difficult. At this point in the show, you're seeing these relationships start to build, and really the next episode on Monday night is when sort of those feelings start becoming more real for me. And then especially hometowns, when you meet families, things change. And so for me, I fell in love with two women, and they were very different. So it was very difficult for me in the end, but still worth it, and I'm happy now.
Did you pull a Ben Higgins and tell both of them that you loved them?
You'll have to watch
Oh
and
my
find out.
gosh.
You'll have to watch and find
Can't
out.
take the suspense. Do we remember when that happened and we were all like, oh my God?
Yeah,
Ari?
I don't know. We'll see.
But I feel like that's the nature of the show, though. How can you not fall in love with multiple women? How did you find yourself only falling in love with two? Because there's so many amazing women on this season.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been 3 would have been way too many to handle. I think, the show lends to this romantic setting. It's, you're traveling and you're getting to know these women on a whole different level. And it's just quite an experience. I just really wanted to take sort of every relationship and sort of really feel how that relationship would be outside of this environment. And that was something that I really tried to figure out, which was difficult.
So that first night, did you really feel connections with these women that have kind of lasted to this point? Were you genuinely like, wow, I really sense a connection? Or can you automatically feel right away too, oh, this isn't going to work?
It's really interesting. The first night, I had a really good connection with Annalise and with Chelsea and with Becca Kay. And those were probably the 3 women that sort of stood out, and Crystal actually, stood out that first evening. And so, now the only one left is Becca Kay. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how things change the more you get to know someone. And then there's relationships that just, didn't burn real bright in the beginning, but really did in the end. So, a first impression isn't always something that lasts throughout the whole season, but it is something that definitely makes an impact.
I know, because we've seen you now with Jacqueline, which I was waiting for some FaceTime for Jacqueline on the
she's
show.
from New York.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's great, and we had a really great conversation. That date was so much fun. I heard that she liked Maxime's, and that was her dream, is to go on a date there. So we added that date in just for her in Paris because I needed that time with her. And it was really fun. The car broke down, couldn't fix it.
Stuff happens in real life, though.
We rolled with it. She's very intelligent, and I think on the show I say, I was intimidated by her intelligence. It was more the fact that I hoped we could relate to each other in conversation. She would always, quote famous authors, and some things would go over my head, and I was like, I don't know if I can relate to her. But we had such a great physical chemistry, and she was so funny, and her facial expressions are always the best, which we didn't get to see much of. And I wish we would have seen more of her throughout the season, but luckily we got to see a lot of her in Paris.
I did like how you confessed that you didn't think you were smart enough to hang out with some of these women like Cian and Jacqueline. Is that intimidating?
No, it's not that, obviously it's like, it's more or less, can we connect on certain things? Jacqueline, she's the type of person that probably, reads 100 books a year. And she really is a very interesting person. And I just wanted to make sure that I was diverse enough to conversate with her and to make her feel fulfilled. And so it was more or less, I was worried about my shortcomings in that aspect of our relationship.
Did you go right back to your hotel and start reading awesome books?
I was like, yeah, she asked me, like, what's the last book you wrote or read? And I was like, I think, like, Are You Smart Enough to Work at Google? I think is the last book I bought. I was like, is that a good thing? I don't know.
Did she know, do a lot of the girls know anything about auto racing and kind of what you did?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's obviously this whole side of my life. So it's really funny, being on the show, I don't really get to really showcase what I do. Traveling and racing is a really fun life. It can be very glamorous, can be very exciting. And so that is something that, that side they haven't seen. So trying to explain that in a way and romanticize it a little bit. But then, my life is slowing down with real estate too, so I have that whole side of my life. So, yeah, my life is very colorful, and on the show, you get to see a little bit of that, but there's so much more to learn, I guess, outside of the show. So you really try to pick somebody who you think would fit the best.
Yeah, are you on these dates, like, on helicopters and romantic dinners, and you're in Paris, thinking about, like, oh, will this work if we're just kind of at a Chili's in Arizona, just, having some dinner?
Yeah, of course. But you have these dates, you're seeing this, like, condensed 10-minute version of a one-on-one date. But really, that date started at 9 in the morning and ended probably at 12 or 2 in the morning. So it's a very long date without phones, without friends, distractions. So you're sitting across from each other, and a lot of times, if the conversation flows well and, you see that you have a lot of similarities, then you're like, okay, this could definitely work, because it is a tough environment to build a connection because you have so much time together. And if you run out of things to say really quickly, then that connection probably isn't going to last.
We kind of saw like a slow moment for you and Lauren B last night on the episode, but I really had high hopes for you two. Yeah. But then you got there. It took a little bit. How was that day? Was it as painful as they made it seem on TV?
It was not as painful as
okay, that's good.
I mean, it was a slow start. I'll say that. It was one of those dates where I was really nervous. She was nervous, and we walked around Paris, and I think, there was a lot of things I didn't show. We had this Polaroid, we were taking pictures of each other, and we had a lot of fun. We had all these pigeons land on us, we were feeding pigeons. We went to this little market and bought cheese and little gifts for our family. So that stuff, made it to the cutting room floor.
Just the wows made it,
Yeah, just the wows made it. But, I think that's why I really opened up to her that evening, because I really felt I needed to share my story and why I even went on The Bachelorette to meet Emily, because she was so nervous. And I had a huge crush on her, and so I wanted her to feel comfortable and be able to just kick back and be herself. So I think you saw in the Paris episode is that she started to really open up during the evening portion of our date.
And you really opened up. You shared quite the story that was very emotional, probably not only for you to tell, but to kind of relive in that moment with Lauren.
Yeah, I mean, that is really the reason I went on Emily's season, because I was pretty heartbroken from that relationship. Was a single mom, and it was really tough. It was a really hard relationship to get through and to get over. And so I really wanted to express to her that everyone has their own story, what shapes them, what makes them who they are. And through tough relationships and getting over really hard heartbreak, I think it just builds character, and it really teaches you, those hard life lessons, and it makes you a better partner to that next person.
And I know last night we lost Chelsea, who was such a great part of the show too. You have dated single moms in the past. Did you kind of let her go at that moment, knowing that it wasn't going to be what you had hoped it would be?
Yeah, other relationships were progressing at a quicker rate, and her being a single mom, I didn't want to drag it along. When I knew that I didn't see a future with her, I knew that I had to let her go. So we just had that one-on-one date in Fort Lauderdale, and it went really well. But at this point in the season, you start really kind of stacking the relationships against each other because, I think after Paris, there's only 7 women remaining, and then down to 4 for hometowns. Yeah, so it goes really quick.
You gotta let go of 3 girls next week?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, I have to let go of most of them, Lee. I have to pick one in the end.
I think it was a little tougher for my season, too, because I took more women to Paris than I should have. Because I was like, I'm not ready to say goodbye to this person, so can I bring them on to Paris? And then we had 10 in Paris. And then typically The Bachelor only has 6 going to the last location before hometowns, and I had 7. So I think I sort of delayed some of the tougher decisions until later in the season, which made it a lot harder for me, actually.
Do you appreciate that they let you kind of do that, though, and make your own path? Because I always think about, wonder if you're not ready yet to get rid of all these women. Wonder if you want another week with them. Yeah,
that was the cool part. They were so accommodating. They said, if you don't feel 100% confident in sending this person home, we'll bring her to the next city. I think the only thing, hometowns, they were dead set on having 4 women. I wanted 5 hometowns, but they're like, no, it doesn't work like that.
That's 5 families, Arie. That's
I
a
know
lot.
that'd be a really intense week.
How are hometowns? Good?
Yeah, hometowns were, terrifying. Just because you want to make a good impression, that some tough questions are going to be asked, and yeah, it was a difficult week for sure.
I know it's hard because you can't say who is at the hometowns.
I know.
But I have a favorite on the show, and her name is Becca M, who actually went missing apparently, and that's been a huge story this whole week.
Yeah.
Did you guys know about the whole missing thing?
No, I did not. I found it out with you guys. Did not know she was missing. So PSA, tell your parents where you're at all times. And that was interesting. A funny story.
But Becca has such like a personality and a light, and I know you guys had a long discussion about age, which hasn't really been brought up too much on past seasons of The Bachelor. What was that like for you, though, to have such a strong connection and then find out her age a little after that had already developed?
I think it was good because I didn't judge her from that first night. For me, I didn't know how old she was, and I knew she was young, obviously. But she was so mature, and she had such a big personality, and she made me feel so comfortable, and we had these awesome talks, and we talked about our future, and a lot of the things that she was telling me, those things aligned with what I want in someone. So it would have been an injustice to send her home at that point, just because I felt such a strong connection to her.
I'm glad she's still around. She's so fun. And you guys so have great natural banter, which is, it's hard to watch these shows and see you in a position that's like, ooh, this is like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Is that nice for you to sit there and actually just have it be natural?
Yeah, I mean, there's, obviously there's a lot of pressure with this whole thing. And so if you are in a group date and you know that you're talking next to somebody who, like let's say, for example, I was having a really difficult evening, the Moulin Rouge date, in that room, it was like really hot, and I was like, and I was stressing about the performance that we're gonna do because, I mean, lip syncing French in front of the French on the stage of Moulin Rouge is not the easiest thing. And so, Becca was that type of person that gave me a lot of confidence. She was so fun to be around, so I was like, okay, it would be awesome to do it with her because she would, ease that tension a little bit.
There's another Becca who's great too. You had a lot of Laurens and a lot of Beccas.
Yeah, I know. Made it easier to remember names.
I'm trying to touch on all the girls. I love Tia. Do we like Tia in here? Yeah, Becca, Cien. Who am I missing? Lauren B. Guys, are you reading Arie's face while I'm saying all these names? You're supposed to be giving me hints. But what has it been like, for you 6 years ago? The franchise was different. You still had Bachelor Nation, but it wasn't as like social media crazy, live tweeting every Monday night, all these Instagram profiles now. How has it changed? Like, how has social media kind of changed this experience?
I think it's made it a little harder because, people love to pick people apart. I don't mind it from my standpoint. I think it's funny. Call me old, I have gray hair. Yeah, I know. I have gray hair. But I hate when I see people being nasty to some of the women because they don't really deserve it. I mean, Crystal, she has an interesting voice. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Is it real?
But sometimes, if you look on her Instagram, it's like, I feel bad for her sometimes. And it's like that with all the contestants. I think it's a double-edged sword. you're really out there. You're really out there for the public to either love or hate you.
Yeah. But then we had someone like Kendall set a beautiful example last night when she showed empathy towards Crystal, even though Crystal was not very kind to Kendall.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Kendall. Kendall's an interesting girl, too. She has that weird taxidermy stuff, but
Yep.
she's so lovely and genuine, I feel like.
Yeah, she was very articulate last night in the episode, very poised, and you saw a lot of maturity out of her. She's an incredible woman. She is someone that, had her little quirks about her. She's very interesting, and I think you saw that whole taxidermy thing. And that's something that kind of threw me at first. I was like, is this cool? Is this not cool? I don't know. I'm going to roll with it. But there was a whole different side to her. So fun to hang out with and talk with. And yeah, that 2-on-1 date, although it was stressful for me because it was a 2-on-1, I really got to know Kendall. And that was a really important date for us because that's the most time we've ever spent together up until that point. So it was really fun to have that day with her.
I know it was surprising when you let go of Crystal and kept Kendall, but we were all pretty excited, right? Although we'll miss Crystal on the show. She was great on the show. You always
She
need
has
that
some
one
good
person to-
entertainment value for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I toss it off to the audience, you said you were happy.
Mm-hmm.
So does this experience work? Can you see
Oh,
why
yeah.
people are, inclined to be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette?
Yeah, it definitely can work. And I think if you look at, Sean and Catherine, they're a great example. Sean's a really good buddy of mine, and he really encouraged me to do the show. He's so happy with Catherine, and now they have Samuel, and Catherine's expecting again. So it's, it can work, and you definitely do fall in love. I think it's navigating the post-show stuff afterwards, and keeping a good head on your shoulders, stay humble, and enjoy the ride, but also just know that there's some real-world stuff to take care of when you get home.
Well, my advice is to just shut out the noise, because I know this post-show, I don't know it personally, but it does look like it could be tough.
Yeah.
Just shut out all that noise, and I'm sure you'll end
I think I
up
might
really
just
happy.
travel for
Yeah.
a good year,
Yeah.
disappear.
No social media whatsoever. All right, who has some questions for Arie? Who's first? Here we go.
Hi, Arie.
Hey,
Alana. If you could choose any sport other than racing, what would it be and why?
Oh, I don't know. I think hockey. I always liked hockey growing up. I played a little ice hockey when I was younger. Fast-paced sport. It's really cool.
You gonna watch the Olympics?
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely watch the Olympics. You got to watch Winter Games too.
I know. Oh, Bachelor winner. That's,
how can
what I meant
we
by the
can't-
Olympics.
We can't forget that. I was like, what Olympics? We have Winter Games coming, guys. It starts next Tuesday, I think. So I'm excited to watch.
Are you going to make an appearance?
I do make an appearance.
Yes.
I judge a kissing competition.
Nice. Very good at that, Arie.
I can't shake that kissing bandit thing, And so I judge a kissing competition with JoJo and with Rachel.
Cool.
So it's so much fun. It's hilarious because you have the American cast members and then you have the international from the international Bachelor franchise cast. And so there's some couple matchups that are really interesting. And so you guys are going to be really stoked to watch it.
I
It's
love
cool.
that too, because you have, the familiar people, but then you have some newcomers to mix it up.
Yeah.
Or people that we don't really know.
I know.
Cool. That's
And-
cool that you
yeah,
make an appearance.
It was a
How about
blast.
Paradise?
No paradise. No paradise for me. Well, maybe, I don't know. Not to hang out for any particular reason other than to stop by maybe. But no Bachelor in Paradise for me.
Be like Wes. He just bartends, and
Yeah.
it's fun. No drama, just bartending. All right, who's next here?
It's me. Hey, Arie.
Hey.
So which date, whether it be a group date, a one-on-one, was the most memorable for you?
Oh, I can't give that away yet because it's yet to be seen. But up until this point, I'd say that date with Lauren just because Paris is so beautiful. We saw the entire city. We floated on the Seine River, which was really cool. And then we saw the Notre Dame. We saw the Eiffel Tower. We saw, the original Statue of Liberty. So a lot of really cool sights to see, and it was such a beautiful day.
Paris was a good week for you, I have to say.
Yeah,
It ended
Paris
up
was an
going well.
incredible week. Yeah, I mean, you go from Fort Lauderdale to Paris. Paris is
Most
gonna be
romantic
great.
city to the most romantic city.
Exactly right. So the yachting, they call it the yachting capital of the world.
Really?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale.
Oh.
Little bit of fact.
Perfect
fun
place
fact.
to date. All right, we have time for one more. Here we go.
Hi, this is an online question from
Okay.
Lucy from Madison. Since you were 5 years separated from the Bachelor franchise, did you get a sense that the women were familiar with your Bachelor history? Did that affect the process at all?
Yeah, good question. I think most of the women hadn't seen my season, which actually I think was a benefit to me. I think we got to know each other in a more organic way instead of having them have a preconceived notion of me. So I thought it was actually quite interesting. You know, it's something that I guess other bachelors haven't experienced, but I think it was a positive thing for me.
That's good. Well, where are you headed next?
Back to LA. Yep,
Okay.
we're gonna shoot Women Tell All pretty soon. So I'm
That should be fun.
Yeah, ready for that. So we'll shoot that, and then that'll air, you know, in a couple weeks. So
That's awesome. Well, we're glad you're happy. We can't wait to see how it turns out, right, guys? Anybody have a
Yeah,
favorite
thanks for
they
hanging
want to
out.
yell out? Becca? Which Becca?
which Becca?
Well,
Becca,
at least one Becca got to make it to the end.
All right. Maybe.
Anybody else? Tia.
Kendall and
I
Tia.
love Tia and Kendall.
CN. Yep.
You got some.
CN.
Look at this. They can't pick. There's too many good women.
CN's a very classy woman.
Well, just come back with your woman next time, and we'll talk with you guys together.
Maybe. You have
Well,
to watch the finale to
Yeah, thank
find
you
out
so
what
much for
happens.
being here. We loved
Yeah.
having you here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.